Here I've divided the clefs up, and here's the major sevenths here. Okay, I don't want you to worry about what the string shapes are going to be until we get to the last chart, and we'll look at those string shapes in a really easy way. So this is 521, and we're looking at the piano, and we have the modal scales that are now the way that I've divided up. And notice how there's that overlap. Phrygian overlapping with Aeolian and Locrian, Locrian overlapping with Phrygian and Lydian. That's the way the clefs are. So there's that overlap. So these are the same notes up here for a little while. There's that overlap. If there wasn't that overlap, things would be a lot simpler, and we're going to talk about that. Is the main subject of today's chart. So let's go ahead one chart so we can get out of trouble. So again, talking about the chart that I decided to do it differently. The previous chart I was doing it the right way, but we got kind of tripped up in the string shapes, didn't we? Now it's modal clefs with inner major seventh chords. That's just a title. That's like, I'm not saying anything wrong. What we have here, up here we have the same thing. This is just the staff notes double stack. We looked at that. And notice the bowing. Let's look at the bowing of these boxes. So it bows up here to include this G here. The Aeolian bows up. The A minor 7 bows up to include the top A, and it becomes big enough for an Aeolian scale. The B half diminished seventh box bows up here. Sounds like another bozo. To make it a half diminished seventh scale. Same thing up here. So all three of them, notice the symmetry, how much simpler it is. They all become modal scales. Now notice, Mixolydian, Aeolian, Locrian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian again. Where's Ionian? Where's Dorian? They're there, but you can't round it off to have them there in the entire 94 keys. That's only about 66 of them or 77 of them. But a really big piano plus a couple of notes is like 94 keys, and then it goes all the way around, as I found out with this diagram, the circle of 94 staff notes. So, but as far as in the ideal situation, if there was only one staff, same piano, same notes, but only one staff that went way up high and way down low, okay, then it would say start at a very low F major seventh and would go all the way around to another to E minor seventh. That's the ideal. This is the non-ideal, having two staffs. Okay, that's non-ideal. It's ideal for what their purposes were when they made it, playing piano, la-di-da. This is for piano. This is non-ideal. Because we start F major 7th. Remember I said this low F major 7th was the lowest? That's because I knew that. Then G7. So here I don't have but one note of, actually I have the low 7th on my piano here, and I'm not going to mess with the piano to transpose the octave down. We have to move along. We have to get out of the mud. So G7, and then we go to A. So you see how it goes F, G, A. It's like a major scale. So we get up to here, and then we have B. So it's F, G, A, B, F, G, A, B. If it was all one staff, we would go to C, D, E, F. Okay, but that really starts like this. The F would be like this, the G, the A, the B, the C, the D, the E minor would only have two of those notes, and then back to the F, which probably doesn't exist. So we really just cover the whole circle. We don't repeat the F. If we go back to the F, we're going to go back down here. They don't have that. This is the unideal, where we have to, then we go back and we start in E minor 7th down here in lower C, with lower C as part of that E minor 7th. Right here is lower C. So here's middle C, here's lower C, but look closely. This is the lower treble box. The E minor 7th is just the label. I could have put that over here. So this note and this note, this C and this D, are not in the lower treble E minor 7th. The E minor 7th starts here at the bottom of this square here in this particular drawing. So it's a little hard to see that. So it starts right here past lower C. Here's lower C, D, and then E, and then we just start again. We go from E in the lower treble, then we go to the treble clef, which is the F, and then to the G again, to the G7 again, which is right here. Here, over here, we see the F major 7th. I had put it over, way over on this side, and we go from F here to F here, and then the upper treble we go here, G, B, D, F for the G7, and then add the G for the mixolydian way up here. Okay, something like that, because that would have way up C in it, middle C, upper C, way up C, right there. Okay, so this upper treble one would be right here, like that. And then the last A minor 7th, right there, all we get is the mighty chord, the mighty clef way up there, super up. Okay, so we're back zooming out here. We have the ideal. Let's move ahead one chart here. Now we have today's chart, and we're going to be utilizing this double modal wall used for modal major 7th 2-string double modal scales for each clef segment. Seg is segment. Made this thing last night and today. Early. Modal scale clefs fitted to long double modal string shapes. Okay, so that's why I didn't want to get into the string shapes, because we're going to be using a different pattern board. The pattern board is the double modal wall, formerly known as the cage ladder. Why it was a ladder, called a ladder, is because the old cage ladder, because we can climb up 4 to 4 here, 7 to 7 here, 3 to 3 here, 6 to 6 here, 2 to 2 here, root to root there. So it kind of has a ladder effect. And we could climb up the strings using that. So I'm tuned to this R, one of the R's down here anyway. Root 2, 3, 4, and then next string up 4, 5, 6, 7. Then next string up 7, root 2, 3, then 3, 4, 5, 6, then 6, 7, root 2 with the tuning third. You go take the pattern up a half step. Now that's not shown in this diagram. We have our 4 strings here, so now on the 5th string, which is the B string, have to bring it up a half. So it would be, and we're already up a half off the nut there when we went to the 7. So here we have 6, 7, root 2. Now these are cello violin string shapes, but the interval is a 4th in between and a 3rd in between the G and the B string. So but the individual string shapes are the ones that we'll be using, have been using, and hopefully in the future will be using again when I do cello, fiddle, violin string shapes. They're longer, and we're going to use these so that they'll fit into that mighty clef. They'll fit into the mighty clefs. So we see here we got root to 7. All right, so that fits into a mighty clef because we have root, the 3rd, the 5th, and the 7th. So that's a 7th chord. We don't have the root here unless we add that. But this is how it fits together perfectly. All right, so we got the 6, 7, root 2, and then on the top we have 2, 3, 4, 5. So notice we started in the RE string shape, RE, and every time we start on a long string shape or have a long string shape there, we go to the next caged letter. So the E goes to the D string shape. Started on an E shape, ended on a D shape. Goes up one caged letter, which is a pentatonic scale backwards. So we got all the way up there onto the D, and then this we really weren't looking at the time. So that was there's our 6 strings that we just played. We started on the E string shape, and then we ended up on the D string shape, and then into the C string shape. We have the same problem here, and that is we have 2 situations. We have the ideal, where I just discussed it, where we go around the 7 shapes. We have one big clef, starting with the F note on the bottom. Okay, now when you get to